Hi everyone. Right now grading is very confusing, and that's understandable because we're in this whole new kind of learning, in this whole new kind of school, right? So what I'm going to do is just break down right now how grades are working. Now this might be a little bit different if you're a senior or if you're in a class that's only 1/4 long or only a semester long, but for most of your classes, for most of your year-long classes that you're in, this will be how your grades are calculated for your report card at the end of the year, okay? So there are 4 pieces of information you need to know that you can find on Infinite Campus. So if you go into Infinite Campus and you look back at your grades, you want to look for your Q1 grade, you want to look for your Q2 grade, you want to look for your Q3 grade, and you also want to look for your midterm grade. Now with these 4 pieces of information, you can calculate the baseline for your final grade in your classes, okay? So I'm going to show you the formula, tell you where that formula comes from, and then we'll do an example. So if you just want the formula, what you're going to do is you're going to take your Q1 grade and you're going to multiply that by 0.3. You're also going to take your Q2 grade and you're going to multiply that by 0.3. And then you'll also take your Q3 grade and multiply that by 0.3. Then you're going to add those numbers together, and you're also going to add on your midterm grade multiplied by 0.1. So you're going to add these 4 things together, and that is your baseline grade. Now, the important thing here is that this is not necessarily your final grade. You will add your virtual learning grade on. Okay, so your virtual learning grade, it could be a 0 if you don't do anything, or it could be up to 6 points. So we're going to do an example in just a moment. Before I get there, I just want to talk about for a minute where this formula comes from. So essentially what we're doing is we're making a weighted average. So out of 100%, certain sections of that percent come from different grades. So your Q1 grade will be 30% of your final grade. Your Q2 grade is 30% of your final grade, and your Q3 grade is 30% of your final grade. And then your midterm grade is 10% of your final grade. So all in all, 90% of your grade, Q1, Q2, and Q3, come from averaging your final grades for each quarter. Then your midterm grade takes up that last 10%, and then we're adding on this virtual learning on top, depending on how much you do on your Google Classrooms. Let's do a quick example. Okay, so let's try this out as an example. So let's say that in quarter 1 in one of your classes, let's say we're talking about geometry. So if quarter 1 in geometry, let's say you got a 70% on your report card. Now quarter 2, you worked really hard, you brought that grade up, you got an 85%. Now for quarter 3, let's say quarter 3 was kind of cut off at the end, right? Things were a little bit weird, maybe you were getting a little bit tired, maybe quarter 3 didn't go so well for you. So maybe you got a 65% quarter 3. All right, but your midterm, you did pretty well on. Let's say for your midterm, you got a 80%. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to take these numbers and we're going to plug them into our formula. So Q1, we're going to take our 70% here. So we'll do 70 times 0.3. Q2, we're going to take our 85. So we're going to add on 85 times 0.3. Our Q3, that's our 65. So we're going to add on 65 times 0.3. And then our midterm grade was that 80%, right? So we're going to put in our 80 times 0.1. So you could do this piece by piece, right? You could put 70 times 0.3 into your calculator and then write that down, or you could just put it in all at once. I'm just going to put the entire thing into my calculator at once. And I get 74. Okay, so 74% is my final grade. So right now I've got a C, right? Let's say I do absolutely no virtual learning work. I don't log on to Google Classroom. I do none of the assignments, right? That means that 74% would be my final grade because I would add on 0 points and I get 74% for my final grade. Now let's say that I do some of my work, right? So maybe I do one assignment a week. I'm checking in with my teachers once a week. I'm not doing everything, but I'm doing something. Then you might get either 2 or 4 points added on, right? So if I add on those 2 points, then I get 76, and that's still a C. But if instead of adding on 2 points, I do enough work to add on 4 points, all of a sudden, I have a 78, and instead of having a C, I have a C+. Now let's say I really go the distance, right? I do everything on Google Classroom. I'm talking to my teachers consistently, I'm attending coach class, I'm doing everything I need to do to get all of my points. Then I'm gonna add on 6 points, and all of a sudden, my C goes from a 74% to an 80%, which isn't a C anymore. That's a B, right? So this can really boost your GPA. It can really help you. And I would really encourage all of you to do as much as you can during this virtual learning time so that you end up with the best result possible and you're learning along the way. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions about the grading policy at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to your teachers. They're there to help you. They're there to inform you. And hopefully they will be able to help you with anything you need. So good luck and stay safe.